Next talk is going to be about, is it still about whales, getting the most of your users? So that's something that I'd also would love to hear some of my peers talk about. I own a publishing company myself, and at Tamalaki Publishing, we kind of have a, we publish casual games, and not a lot of our users are considered big spenders, so not a lot of them are, you could say, not a lot of whales. But we do have sort of a interesting concept of ad whales. Like, people are willing to watch a lot of ads for free stuff. And that's fine with us, because that's revenue as well. So anyway, that's kind of our little take on whales also within my company. And I'm looking forward to see what the other panelists have to say about how they treat whales, how they define whales, and what's been the sort of the recent developments in years around how whales are treated and defined. So right here with me already are Toni from Gameloft, Eado from Fyber, and Vasil from Imperia Online. And we're just waiting for Bolin from Ohayoo. He will be coming in shortly. But perhaps, guys, we can already start with some introductions. Who would like to start?
Sure, I'll take the podium, right. I guess.
Go for it.
Hi guys, it's great to be here, and it's lovely to be part of this panel. It's my first time as a panelist. So my name is Vasil Gospodinov. I'm part of Imperia Online. Have been for the last year and a half. And a little bit more about the company before I say a few words about myself is that we're actually one of the biggest game production studios in Southeastern Europe. We have 27 games in our portfolio with 50 million users across those games. We concentrate on MMO titles, when we started back in 2005, so that's 15 years on the market, we started with web games, and then roughly about 10 years ago, we moved on to mobile. So lately we've been, we became part of Steelfront Group 2 years ago, which has helped us, further consolidate, our position as one of the biggest developers in Southeastern Europe. So it's great to be part of them. And actually a little bit more about us, what we're actually kind of looking for now. We're actually in the M&A business. We're looking for assets to acquire. So maybe if any of our audience is interested, could drop me a line about it, and now I'll be happy to share more info on that one. But about me, I actually don't have a very, very big experience in the gaming industry, only a year and a half. This is my first job, but hopefully it's going to be a very, very long one. And so far, I've really, really enjoyed being part of the gaming industry as a whole.
All right, thanks. Toni, how about you?
Hello everyone. I'm very thankful to be here. I'm Toni Sala. I'm the monetization lead in Gameloft, Barcelona studio. I've been in Gameloft already for 7 years and more than 10 years in the gaming industry. My main goal at Gameloft is to supervise the monetization strategies of our games. Currently, mainly my main focus is Asphalt 9 Legends, which is our live game. I also take care of the supervision of the economy design, progression system design, and monetization system design, and also take care or make sure that the live ops strategy is strong enough to help our games to survive to many years, which is our main goal.
All right, thanks. Eado?
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Eado Hofstetter. I'm an Israeli American. I lived in France, but now I live here in London. I've been at Fyber for about 4.5 years. I actually started out at Interactive, which was acquired by Fyber. What I do is I'm in charge of all the supply EMEA account management. So actually on the publisher side, at Fyber, we monetize in-app using different ad formats such as banners, interstitials, rewarded video, offer wall. We also have our own in-app mediation platform called Fyber. And most importantly, since lockdown has started, I've been working from home, and my 5-year-old daughter has been giving me haircuts.
Which we can only half see because of the virtual background is swallowing at half of the time. Looks great.
Thanks.
Right. I just heard that our last panelist has some trouble entering the room. So I hope that he'll be able to join us really soon. Yeah, I'd say let's already kick off with the first question. And I think before we start talking about anything else, I think the first question is like, how do you or how does your company define a whale?
So maybe we can start with this one. You know, the romantic way of putting it is that whales are our biggest fans, right? These players that enjoy the game the most, they spend a lot of time and they spend a lot of money. But the formal definition, of course, is based on how much they spend. This depends a lot on the game and a lot on the objectives of each team. But this is what traditionally we've been using in Gameloft. Basically, we have different spending cohorts that are defined by a bracket of lifetime spend. Recently, we've switched to a model in which we, instead of considering lifetime spend, we are considering average monthly spend, for example. So to try to grasp the frequency of the spending of our players. And specifically in Barcelona, we are exploring right now to incorporate in our definition of whales and spending cohorts the RFM model, which is used in many industries, the recency, frequency, and monetization model, so that we incorporate in the definition of the whale how frequent are the purchases they do and how recent was the last purchase. And with that, we have a scoring for each one of the players, and then we define the brackets so that we can then have an enriched way of definition of whales. And just as a side funny note, our data analyst that was working on this happened to have the idea of naming those brackets as after birds instead of after fishes. So we have pigeons, parrots, and eagles, like minnows, dolphins, and whales, which is fun.
Nice. I would definitely prefer to be an eagle over a whale, but all right, Eado, how about you? How about your company?
Right. So at Fyber, it's slightly different. We don't have one definition for a whale. Whales are defined by our demand and are translated into eCPM performance. The more available, diversified whales we have, the better performance we will see, which means we actually do the matchmaking between our demand to their requested whales. The idea is to make the most of all of the game's users. Some of the whales are, in fact, just like you mentioned at the beginning, they're actually ad whales, which are users that watch many ads and download and engage with ads.
Yeah, nice, thanks. Vasil?
Yeah, so it's this is actually quite interesting because I think for every developer and every publisher, every studio in general, that they have a different way of kind of it's like a different definition, I guess. And for us is no different. We actually only look at lifetime revenue that they've spent in the game. The reason for that is that we also track the users that spend a lot of time in our game, because as I mentioned, we focus on MMO games, so they have a very long time, very long period of time where they stay in the game. So those users that stay for a certain amount of time, we actually track them and we call them the smoking meat, actually. So we have a term for those as well, and that's we just look at whales by money spent because it's just the easiest way. As actually Toni mentioned, we do actually have 3 cohorts in terms of spenders. So that would be whales, dolphins, and minnows. And of course, we have the non-monetized, which is the 4th cohort. But that's yeah. I guess this is pretty much on our side. But at the end of the day, we value each and every player whether they spent or haven't spent, simply because the players that we so-called the smoking meat, at the end of the day, they do act like a glue and they fill the game, in terms of players. So it's, whales usually represent like very, very small fraction of the total players. So you really can't have a good game if you don't have those type of players.
Right. Yeah, exactly. If you have all the gear, you want to show it off to the rest of the players. There need to be other players to show it off to.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was wondering, and this is staying with you, Vasil, mostly about the MMOs. Looking at the spending patterns, like in the game project that you currently work on most, is it mostly really about a few huge whales, or is it like more loads of minnows, and how's that balanced?
Yeah, actually, that's for us. It's not so much minnows. I mean, as I mentioned, we have 3 different cohorts. Whales, dolphins, and minnows. And when I was actually looking at some interesting some data, it was actually more about whales and dolphins. It seems that about 70 or 80% of the revenue that we collect is from dolphins and from whales. And it's, I guess it's about, I don't know, 70-30% kind of distribution between whales in favor of whales. So with that, it's not really about the minor players. We do have a lot of people that are classified as minnows, but it's actually more about the dolphins and whales. It's that's, I guess, about a fifth of the players who monetize is under the name of dolphins.
Toni, do your games follow a similar pattern?
Yeah, I would say so. Speaking of revenues, probably 20% of the population generate 80% of the revenues. And in our specific definition of whales, we have around 5% of people that we consider whales, and these people generate 60% of the revenue. But if we add up together whales and dolphins, then it's more or less 20-80. But in volumes, it's completely different thing. That's the cool thing, or well, that's how it goes. You have very, very few people that generate this amount of money. But in terms of percentages, I think, we have pretty much the same distribution.
Interesting. Well, I have to say, coming in from like really sort of the casual puzzle game angle, we just see much of a bigger spread on the sort of the small monetizers, kind of more minnows, and definitely a lot less whales. But I guess that's a difference to be expected. Eado, do you have any kind of market insights on this? I mean, of course, you're not working on a specific game, but you do work with lots of clients that have different games.
Right. So at Fyber, we believe that these assumptions and patterns are going to be challenged now by Apple's IDFA deprecation on iOS 14, and we don't really know when Google will follow their lead. iOS 14 makes it less about the IAP whales. If you ask why, it's because it's just going to be much harder to identify and buy these whales. Game developers might have a hard time to achieve these, like you mentioned, 5% of spending users. What will they do? Well, they'll probably blend more ads. Ad whales can still be identified with contextual signals using contextual parameters, which are non-IDFA signals, such as the device level data, the battery, audio on or off, headphones, using Wi-Fi, 4G, now 5G, other signals of the app level, such as game category or subcategory, or the most interesting part is actually the session level, the session depth of the user. How many impressions did this user see? He's playing 10 minutes, he saw 2 rewarded videos. Does he complete the videos he's watching? How long has he been watching? When has he clicked? Did he click on the end card? Did he click during the video? These params can tell us a lot about these kind of users. We do, besides that, we also see a trend wherein many big IAP buyers are actually buying users using only contextual signals. They are already able to make certain predictions.
Okay, so you're saying that they are already sort of post IDFA ready.
Yes, many of them are. Some of the bigger buyers, the IP buyers, they're buying no IDFA in scale.
Yeah, that's it's an interesting point to bring that up, and I definitely also would love to hear the points of view from Toni and Vasil about that. The big IDFA change, does it change anything for your studios and how you approach whales? Let's start with Toni.
Well, the biggest impact, or let's say what we are more strongly considering, is that because of these changes, we will probably need to at least consider how to monetize earlier people and how to estimate what of these players that monetize earlier will end up being whales, because we cannot really know now, or we will not be able to know now. So it's going to be mostly in, estimating what could become a whale in the future. We're still, we're working hard on this. It's happening these days for last months. We still haven't not figured out it completely. I guess that most of people is in the same spot. We need to see how this unravels and how it goes. But yeah, we are considering these sort of changes.
Yeah, we're in the same boat as well here. It's very, we've performed some tests. We've obviously we know who our players are. We have a rough idea what our whales are as in people, who they are, what they do. So we're trying to kind of find a way that we can target those players and those users, but it's going to be hard. I think as soon as iOS 14 rolls out, I think we're going to have a proper solution to it, maybe later, but I think for now it's quite uncertain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big mystery to a lot of developers for sure. We'll just have to wait how that pans out. Before I move on to the next question, just want to say I've got confirmation that unfortunately Bolin isn't able to join us, so it's just going to be the three of us. And I'd like to let the audience know that if you have any questions, you can drop it in the Q&A box at any time, and then I'll try to handle those questions in between the ones that I made up. So moving on down the list of my questions is there's always a bit of a balancing act in how do you keep a game fun for non-spenders versus spenders, especially, for example, when you monetize time, by selling time shortcuts and something, or perhaps by, in a multiplayer game, there's this big sort of power distribution challenge. So yeah, how do you balance your gameplay and fun for, the whales and the non-monetizing players? Who wants to kick off with that one?
I can go with it again.
Go for it.
Okay, so it's, I guess balancing fun and gameplay is always tricky. You kind of have to be fair on both sides. And, I think as an example, I'll use our latest game, Siege World War II, Siege World War II, actually. So actually in 2020, we released about 19 updates for this game, and all of those included some sort of new feature or an update to a previous one, so that it improves the whole balance of the actual gameplay, and that the features that we add or are building upon give more freedom to the player. So because a lot of those players, when they go and play MMO games, they like their freedom. So, at the end of the day, games are freedom to a lot of users. So we try and provide that as it is. But as Siege World War II is, a matching game, matches you versus another player, we try to make sure that the matching system works correct, because you can't really, players will not be very happy if you get dropped versus a very, very large whale or someone who's on a very, very higher level. So we try to make sure that all of these discrepancies, however small they are, we try to iron them out and make sure that, you know, there is the right balance. Sometimes we have to disbalance them in order to get them again balanced, but it's just one of those things. I guess with the fun bit, it's you know, it can be split into steps. Again, because a lot of your players would be playing the game because they're having fun, essentially. So that's kind of the first bit. From there on, you have to kind of build upon it and, you know, introduce, as I said, new features, but you can improve the artwork, and there's just so many things. You need to kind of lift their happiness level by doing all of these things. Giving away free stuff is a great idea. You can have a lot of players who like the music in the game, and because it's a World War II game, you know, you can have some very motivational kind of you know, go and get your troop and, you know, win this battle. So it's yeah, always improve your content and try and balance it in the right spot according to your players, and not just one base, but the whole kind of player base, I guess. So yeah, it's you know, you should always have some sort of balance between winning and losing. You can't really have just one person that is winning. You need to make sure that at some point this person kind of gets to lose, because essentially they will get bored of the game and they're gonna drop out of it. So you're gonna lose a player there. And you know, as Newton said, you know, every law should have a counteraction. Every action should have counteraction. So you should definitely consider that when you're looking into that.
Yeah, for sure. Toni, anything?
Yeah, I think we go in a similar direction. For us, since we have most of our games, and in particular Asphalt 9, they provide on one side a very strong solo experience, but then they also provide some multiplayer competitive game modes. So we approach it in different, depending on which segment we are. So for the solo experiences, basically what we do is try to diversify as much our offerings, both in terms of you know, gameplay, game modes, rewards, and also offers. We have different, let's say, tiers of time-limited events that we provide to our players regularly. So if you launch right now Asphalt 9, you will see that there are several events running at the same time, but not all of them are interchangeable. They are completely different. They are targeted to different players. So we have the event that is for whales that are very engaged. Then we have the event that is more for people that are more grinders. Then we have events that are more targeted to people that love the challenges, and so on and so forth. So we basically design and target specific experiences for the different type of audiences that we have, including non-paying users. And on the side of the multiplayer, it's a bit tougher, it's a bit more complicated, but yeah, we favor our top spenders because they get access to better cars more regularly, let's say. So they have a competitive advantage there, but we try to make sure that the other players can also get access to reasonably good cars in the case of Asphalt 9, for example. So maybe they don't have the same win ratio, so they don't win the same number of races at the end of the day, but they have realistic chances to compete and to have fun and eventually reach the top leagues and the top positions in the leaderboards of our game.
And get their hands on those dream cars.
Yeah.
Eado, any words of advice to add?
Yeah, well, not that much to say about the multiplayer, but in general regarding the non-paying users. So unfortunately, on some games, I am also a non-paying user. But here at Fyber, we think there should be some kind of blend between the payers and the non-payers, and the game developer should give enough resources for both of them to enjoy and win the game. The majority of the users are non-payers. Like, that's, unfortunately, it's the truth. And we suggest adding all kinds of rewarded formats, such as rewarded video or the offer wall to help also these kind of users enjoy the games. It's always this conversation when we say the users that are engaging with these formats, these are not the IAP users. These are not the whales. It's different kind of users. And there are no free lunches. Why not maximize revenue and find a sweet spot that combines both revenue streams? In general, we do predict that ad revenue will become more significant with the deprecation of the IDFA. It just, like we mentioned, it's going to be harder to acquire whales. Besides rewarded video and offer wall, we advise also game developers to test additional formats and placements, such as banners and interstitials. They can blend in the game in certain frequency, which is not too intrusive, and retention is maintained. Games with good retentions can show less ads, while games with shorter retention should achieve the expected LTV and could be possibly more aggressive with ads. Here at Fyber, we have our own in-app mediation platform called Fairbid, and we have different tools for A/B testing, different frequencies and different formats. And we believe that everyone's going to be testing a lot during the next couple of weeks, month.
Yeah, I bet. Actually, a little bit of a follow-up on that also coming from the audience. Someone wants to know, is the expectation that Google will follow suit with similar IDFA style changes? Can we expect further privacy protecting changes? What's your take on that?
Well, regarding Google, it's too early to say anything. Let's take it easy. Let's start with Apple, and then we're going to see where we are in a couple of months. It is possible that the Google's also waiting to see what will happen here.
Yeah, that's true. I guess with the revenue share change, it also took them about 2-3 months to react and follow suit with Apple, and they're also then splitting 15%, only taking 15% from indies. So who knows that they'll follow on this occasion as well. Yeah, we got some great questions from the audience. I'm just gonna handle a few of those. This one is specifically for Toni and Vasil from Emma. And she wants to know, are you also considering changing your economy and maybe test new ways of monetizing?
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Sure, sure. Okay. Actually, we have previously we've gone through a lot of different ways of monetizing, and in our last project, Siege, we decided that we shouldn't just only rely on in-app purchases, but we should also advertise. We should also include in-game advertisements. We've only started, January of this year, so it hasn't been a very long time. So far, it's going quite well. So you can always mix and match the different ways of monetizations. So it's always a good idea to explore every bit. But because we have used this, we have tried this before with Imperia Online. This is our flagship title. We did find out that the advertisement often would eat up some of the ways for the in-app purchase ways that we've introduced. So it's always a little bit tricky. You should always try and test as much as possible and see if your already embedded way of monetization is going to work with another one. So it's we have considered it, we've done it. We're just taking it very slow right now.
Yeah, in our case, I mean, it depends a bit on the game, but if I focus on Asphalt 9, which is the one that is not right now more important for me, since it's a game that is still in growth, it's working very well and it's still growing. Yes, we do investigate new ways of monetizing, but we are not very disruptive with it. So we try to not change the economy, because the question is talking about the economy and also monetization. We try to not change the economy. The economy seems robust, seems that it's working fine. It's a good, let's say, baseline. But yeah, we're trying to monetize on top of it with different monetization tools and strategies. I consider that, for example, the diversification in the live ops is a different way of monetizing. This was not the case in the beginning. Actually, in the beginning, the game was more whale oriented than it is right now. So we are trying to diversify our offerings so that we monetize different spending cohorts. And one specific case that works very well as an example for this is we introduced mid last year the Battle Pass as a feature. Yeah, it's not an FPS, but we tried to put the Battle Pass because everyone was trying it, and independently of the genre. So we put the Battle Pass in Asphalt 9, and it did work very well. It increased the RPU baseline by around 20% after the introduction of the feature, and it changed quite a bit how our high-level KPIs look. How do we build now our monetization? Because before the Battle Pass, our RPU was mainly based on our PPU, so on the payers, the big payers. After the Season Pass, the Battle Pass, now we have more paying users, and we managed to grow our RPU more based on conversions and reconversions. So yeah, definitely, we always try to come up with new ways of monetizing. We also considered the renewable subscription. We are still investigating it. So yeah, this is something that, I mean, I would say that this is the easy side of growing your game. Growing on volumes is very difficult, especially now with all the changes in the EDFA. But growing your monetization tends to be a bit easier, so you can try more things and grow your ARPU.
Thanks. Yeah, actually, I think that ties in nicely to another question that came from the audience. Is that what do you guys think about subscription models or like registration models?
Subscription model meaning, I guess, auto-renewable subscription models. Well, if you consider both like auto-renewable or none, well, I've just talked about the Season Pass and Battle Pass. It's kind of a subscription, but you need to renew it, yourself as a player every month or every 2 months, whatever. It works like a charm for us. Well, yeah, we really encourage people to try it. And regarding the auto-renewable subscriptions, yes, conceptually it works. It should work, but we just found a lot of technicalities that for now put us a bit aside from it. We are still considering it, investigating it, but there are some technical things that we need to go around.
Yeah, definitely. Just to kind of a little break, we are joined by another panelist, not Bolin, but his colleague Xiao from Ohayoo. Hey, welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you guys.
Hello.
Great.
Yeah.
I would say, why don't you take a few minutes to introduce yourself and your company, and then we will continue and just like with the questions. Is that all right?
Okay, it's okay. Yeah, because sorry for that, because my colleague has some technical issue to join the meeting, so I will take place to take introduction of our company or something. Yeah. So okay, so we are a global publishing company. Our name is Ohayoo. And we have published games like Agent Bones or Cherry Spoon. And Ohayoo is the leading casual game publisher in China. And we help bring exciting games to gamers and empowers developers to monetize the games. Yeah, so basically we're a casual game publisher. Yeah.
Right, well, welcome. And I guess, we were right on the question, but from the audience where we were asked, like, what do you think about subscriptions or registration models? Do you want to hook in and answer that?
Maybe you guys can discuss it more. Yeah, because I need to catch you guys
All right,
up.
take it easy.
Yeah.
Vasil, what's your opinion about subscription?
We actually already have a subscription-based model in Imperia Online. It's been working for a couple of months now. So it's again, it's a little bit tricky embedding it, but essentially it can work. It's our version of subscription is quite interesting because it actually it spreads over to other players in your like guild. So we've tried to find an innovative way of, you know, it catching popularity with the players. So it's yeah, definitely you can definitely look into it. It's a great idea. You know, we just have to be a little bit more innovative, I guess, for, you know, for those ways to actually work. So it's yeah.
Yeah, I would say that maybe the only thing to take into account when considering this is the potential cannibalization of your whales. If the subscription models are providing too much value, maybe then you have to consider how to then compensate it for your whales. But that would be the only, let's say, drawback possible, I would say.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. I mean, we tried subscriptions for a while in our game, Home Designer Blast, and I mean, you know, there were people interested, but when we looked at the sort of overall revenue, it didn't really move the needle because, like you say, the whales were converting into subscribers. So, yeah.
Actually, if I may jump back in, the reason for our idea that the subscription spills over to other people and other players is because a lot of the purchases that are made online, which we've found in our games, are made for other players. So there's often this kind of let me help this other player kind of mentality in the games. So it's, yeah, that's definitely something that you can look into it and kind of, you know, I don't really say exploit, but it's at the end of the day, it's kind of that.
Yeah, the way we went through it with our battle pass was basically to offer. We didn't offer much value in terms of hard currency or value you can spend directly in the game, but more like exclusive content. Or we also attached a set of perks that are not monetized in the game. So stuff that is not really monetized directly, and we provide some, you know, very carefully crafted perks so that they don't break the economy. And it works really well. Whales compared to the previous ways that all the special events, the new cars that we released, they still spend there, but they additionally spend on the season pass because of the exclusive content and the perks. And we have other players that start spending. We had some dormant paying users that we were not able to convert through any other means, and the battle pass ended up converting them and reconverting them.
Yeah. Right. Thanks. So we've talked a lot about sort of different types of games and different types of like player profiles, but how about when we look at different global regions? So like for global publishing, you know, you can divide the world into several regional markets, and each market should be treated differently. So do you have like any insights in how different markets sort of behave, and, you know, difference between types of whales?
That's a tough one, I would say. Yes, the answer is yes, definitely. There are, depending on the region, depending on the country, there are different spending behaviors. I can put a clear example. We ran an analysis on Asphalt 9, and we clearly saw that, you know, Eastern countries were more prone to monetize through gacha, for example, while Western countries were more prone to monetize through direct rewards, even if they were more expensive. You know, if in terms of value, the gacha was better, but they preferred to avoid the gambling and go even spending more money for getting the sure reward. The issue we have, at least on our side, is that it's very difficult then to articulate this into a real campaign, because you need to then start having live op operations that are different depending on the country. So we limit it in very specific cases that, you know, the return is easy. So we invest very little, but we know that we will get more in return. But in general, our general strategy is we basically do the same for everyone, even though we know that some actions will work better in some countries than in others.
Tao, you guys coming in from like first being a Chinese publisher and now looking at a global outreach. What do you think of this?
Okay, so actually we are doing the global publishing. So basically, we are a Chinese company. So now we think we are so a little bit more familiar with the Asian market, so especially for the Japan and Korean, and we do very good job in Japan and Korean as well. So I will share some insights about these two markets, perhaps. Yeah, so after a period of exploration, it has also confirmed some high success rates and stable race tracks among them. So we think the puzzle category are the key categories in Japan and South Korea. As a category with the second download scale in Japan and the first download scale in South Korea. So puzzle has a large download volume, a long game time, and the core gameplay is very simple. And the entry threshold is low. So there are many successful cases released in China. The basic disc of such game in mainly light game players represented by middle-aged and elderly users. So the game motivation is to kill time for free, and there is no need to rush time with heavy games. In addition, we think the shooter games and the simulation categories are also key racetracks in Japan and South Korea. And the shooter as a very new category, and the market is growing rapidly. And for new products, for new players, they still have the space to enter this market. And maybe the light action and cultivation elements have a great potential in these categories. The simulated management category is a category with the longest daily average time and the longest life circle among all categories. Overseas top games are 30% and 5% annually. So moreover, the concentration of running water in the track product is not high. The portion of the running water in game is very high. So there is the room for entry. So that's what we thought about the Japan and South Korea market.
All right. Vasil, I know that your games attract quite a global audience. Do you see different behavior in different regions?
Honestly, I don't think I will be able to answer this question very well. But yes, we do actually have global audiences from Brazil, we have from Russia as well. So with regards to the specific offers, whether they like something specific, I cannot definitely say. That's something that's actually out of my knowledge, for which I apologize. But with regards to players who are interested in, let's say, World War II games, those obviously are, the countries that are, were involved in World War II. So essentially, there always is some sort of every region has some sort of different kind of specifics and needs, so we try to fulfill them accordingly, but we also try to make sure that the game stays the same for every region. We generally don't want to give one region like, let's say, for offer 1 more diamonds, for offer 2 less diamonds. So we're trying to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities, whether they're whether in Asia, whether in Europe, in America. It just doesn't really matter for us. We try to be fair on every level, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. We've got some more questions from the audience, so I'm just gonna continue with those. So the first question is: the Chinese game publishers have historically been very proactive in providing a lot of VIP support to their biggest users, like dedicated events, personal account management, etc. Are Western companies employing similar tactics, and how much should developers think about an active account management for their top players?
On our side, we are not there. We are not doing that right now. But yeah, I think it's a trend that it's coming, and we are actually considering. We are doing our first steps to, let's say, get closer to our top players. We start running surveys that are specifically targeted to, so in-game surveys that are specifically targeted to those players, and we are investigating this. But yeah, at some point, if this went well, the idea would be to get in contact directly with these people. So have some sort of communication channel with them, trying to even, some sort of validation of the roadmap with these people. But for now, this feels like pretty far away in the future, for us at least.
Right. Tao, you have, of course, experience with the Chinese market, but also with the global market. Do you have any experience with the VIP players?
Okay, so because we are more focused on the casual games, so as you know, our game is more, game revenue is more coming from the ad revenue. So for us, we don't have such kind of VIP users to be managed. But still, we have to do a lot of analysis about our users to know their interests, to improve our gameplay, to improve our experience of the games. Yeah, that's the thing that we will do, but not like the VIP player management stuff. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, because as a fellow casual game publisher, I guess we see our VIPs as the users who are mostly interacting with our brand. So the users who are constantly reacting on our Facebook posting and reaching out to our customer support, etc. And we highly appreciate their input. So yeah, we do sort of, treat them as VIPs when, basically we answer them. Sometimes we give them goodies when they report a bug, just to kind of show appreciation. But yeah, I agree that within the casual space, there's definitely less of the sort of the VIP perks that you see in big MMOs and such. Right. There's another audience question, and after that one, I have sort of a closing question for you guys. But yeah, this one is also, I think, quite interesting, and it loops back into alternative monetization methods. So the question is, there was a talk yesterday about G-commerce, digital retail stores for products inside the games. Is that something that sounds feasible to you guys? And what do you think about it?
We did some tests in some of our games in Gameloft. They didn't go well enough to go full throttle on it. So our position right now is more waiting and see how this unravels, and see if, I don't know, if it generates a real trend that we can jump in, because our initial tests on that were not satisfying enough.
Eado, do you have some thoughts on this?
Doesn't feel like, not exactly my scope of business, so no.
Right. How do you feel in general about sort of I mean, I see more and more sort of alternatives to in-game advertising popping up. For example, audio ads, or like really well integrated in-game branding. Are those also things that Fyber is looking into?
Yeah, you mean like also in-game ads, these kind of things. Right now, we're still, we're not looking into it right now, but it is possible that in the future we might seek more opportunities.
Right.
Yeah. This actually worked well for us, because we have I would say that pretty a lot of paid deals with brands that want to, for example, have a branded special event or a branded event on our game, or we have in the in the circuits. When the cars are racing, there are advertisement panels, and then we can put there in place advertisement. And yeah, this is a significant revenue stream that we get from paid deals on that.
Right. Yeah, I guess it doesn't have so much to do with the topic of whales, I guess, but it's, I mean, we are talking about monetization, and yeah, I think it's interesting to also take all those things into account, because in the end, the quality of your game is also going to have an influence on the amount of whales that you have, and of course, quality advertising can help to make it feel a quality game. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. Well, we are close to the end time of our talk. I guess the final question I want to end with for all of you is, what advice would you give developers who struggle to find a good way to monetize their players? Perhaps start with Eado.
Sure. So we would suggest a good blend between IAP revenue to ads revenue, still have good retention, minimal churn, always constant testing of new formats and frequencies, rewarded video, banner, interstitial, and the offer wall. Another interesting thing, maybe also relevant to the discussion about the countries we had before, is segmenting users according to their value and price them differently. Show or not show ads to certain users, use different exchange rates for certain users, either by region or by behavior of the user. Another interesting thing is, as part of the IDFA deprecation, we advise to adopt also limited ad tracking waterfalls with possibly slightly lower prices, especially for the beginning until everyone learns properly how to monetize these requests.
All right, thanks. Next, Vasil, perhaps?
Yeah, I guess that's the $1 million question, no? I think the best advice I could probably give to any developer who's struggling to monetize is to go back to a drawing board and analyze every component of their game and see if anything is not working correctly, such as why are the players not, why do they not feel the urge of paying, and see if it is something within the game. And if it's something within the game, they can their own fix it. But what actually Eado said, the mixture, between different monetization methods is a great, it's a great way to just kick off things. Also, you should always know what sort of player you're targeting. For us, it would be, males between a certain age and usually have a higher form of education. So you're narrowing, the type of players who might be interested in your games, and you can, acquire them by user acquisition. So it's again, it really depends on the actual game and what stage the game is in. But if it's a game that is quite in its early stages, then I would definitely say go back to the drawing board, because you haven't done not enough time has passed. So maybe something you haven't done in the beginning you've missed.
Right.
Yeah. A/B testing as well. Of course, when you find what if something is broken, you should always have a look and A/B test it. It's just the way forward. That's yeah, that's how we used to operate as well.
I definitely agree. We do a lot of A/B testing with our top games, like constantly. Just because when you have good numbers, they can always be better.
Yeah.
Tao, any thoughts for indie developers?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, we believe the truth is that all users love the core gameplays. So we think that's the reason why hyper casual game can reach a very big range of users. So therefore, we think that during the core gameplays, we don't suggest to do some ads or any things to interrupt the users. But apart from the core gameplay, there are some meta system. And so for the meta system, you need to dig in different layers to, for example, the A/B test you guys just mentioned. It's very important to do the monetization behavior, because some users may be very sensitive for the ads, or others are not. So you can use the A/B test to increase the revenue itself, which don't have negative effect for the games. And actually, we think that for all the users, they have 4 kinds of different needs, demands from the game. We think that the first is the pay for win. So the users will like to show off, or they want to increase the data in the game. And the second is the pay for efficiency. The users want to save time, or they want to get some accelerations. And the third is the pay for outfit. For example, you buy some skins, you buy some weapons, appearance to make it look better. And the last one, the pay for content. For example, the card drawing or something else. So if you can find 1 or 2 the core demands of the users that they needed, and to develop the ads or the payment element, so you can have a very good monetization result. That's what we think. Yeah.
All right, thanks. Last but not least, Toni.
Yeah. Well, first I would make sure that your problem is in the monetization side, because usually it's harder to have a game that has good retention, good engagement numbers, and actually a big enough player base. So first, make sure that you have all those things solved. And if that's the case, then I think you are in a very good position, because improving monetization in a game that is good and it has good retention, engagement, and a big enough player base, I would say that you can start by looking at what reference did you use to make that game, because probably you were inspired for some other game. So take a look to those games, check what they are doing for monetization, and try to implement what they're doing. If this doesn't work, then just go to the checklist that the guys already also, some of them suggested. Try the battle pass, try the gacha, try a rotating shop, put timers and skip the time. If you don't have time limited events, try to put time limited events. If you are in a multiplayer game, try to sell cosmetics. Also, try to see if you can monetize through ads. Why not? If nothing of this works, then maybe you have a problem in the depth of your game. Maybe in terms of gameplay, maybe your gameplay is not deep enough and players actually cannot play for it for long, or maybe you don't have deep enough progression systems, or maybe both. So check these things. And if any of this works, maybe you could also be in a problem of, I don't know, content production pacing. Maybe your players are consuming your content faster than you can actually produce. So check if you can actually speed up your production, which is usually the toughest one. But then you can do A/B test for increasing prices. It's another solution. If you don't have enough content, maybe you can increase the prices of your content, A/B test, and see if that works. And you can even try to scale up your economy, because maybe you have, I don't know, you're selling units, you're selling champions in an RPG game, and they can level up till level 30. Try to rebalance it so that they can level up till, I don't know, level 50 or 80 or even 100. So you can squeeze a bit more your content. That should be my funnel. Try the easiest stuff first, and then go for the toughest ones at the end.
Definitely agreed. Yeah, and especially about the retention. You know, before you can monetize them, you got to keep it. Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the panel. So I would like to say a huge thanks to all of you guys. Thank you for sharing your insights. Yeah, if the audience has any more questions, I'm sure they'll know how to reach you through the socials. So, thanks so much.
Great. Bye.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.